Mike Moore Media.
I'm talking to Rodney Cates, Director of Rockingham County Emergency Services, our monthly get-together. Hey, Rodney, welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing just great, and we've got a lot to talk about. First, a very special award ceremony this morning. Let's begin with that.
Yeah, the county every so often does employee service awards, and they recognize today those employees that had 15 or more years service. And from the emergency service side, we recognized our paramedic Captain Andrew Lucas and our paramedic Lieutenant Max Rich and telecommunicator Frank Fix and our EMS operations manager Rodney Stewart. And Rodney celebrating 30 years of service, as well as Frank Fix with 30 years of service, and the other two paramedic members had 15 years of service. So many other county employees were recognized as well, members from the library and public health, public buildings, social services, and the sheriff's office, the tax office, and even youth services. So many recognitions and many years of combined service there for the citizens of Rockingham County.
Sure. Well, that makes a statement right there. Thank you for mentioning your people, your team. But when you're looking at many years of loyal service, that says a lot right there, doesn't it?
It does. There's certainly some dedicated people and dedicated employees with our county.
Yeah. Okay. I know we've talked about this, but it's been a while. How long have you been in emergency services doing the things you're doing today?
Actually, my original career started in 1990, May of 1990. So all total about 32, 33 years.
Okay. Well, thank you for that service, too. We appreciate that. Well, we had a big windstorm that did a lot of damage in Eden last weekend. Maybe we can touch on that a little bit because some areas pretty hard hit.
Yeah, Eden was very hard hit, especially on the northwest side of Eden. A lot of damage, a lot of people without power. We have talked, actually, the night of the storm, and since then we've talked to the National Weather Service. They didn't pick up any rotation at all, so it appears that these were straight-line winds or downbursts, probably in the 90 to 100 mile per hour speed range for the winds, and certainly created a lot of damage, a lot of power outages. But again, as they always do, our crews and the emergency services team came together, and that team was inclusive of many different members to help mitigate that and assist those citizens. So overall, a very bad storm situation, but a good mitigation, and then things are getting back to normal up there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I was out early Sunday meeting with some of the city personnel and getting out and about on the streets and talking to neighbors and people like that. So, but that's the first time I've heard an estimate of the wind speed. So you're saying 90 to 100 mile per hour winds.
That's what the Weather Service had estimated based on the damage and the way they see the size of the trees, and they were uprooted, with the whole root ball turned up. Mm-hmm. So that was their estimation, and again, seeing that whole root balls turn up rather than the trees twisted off is also indicative of straight line winds as opposed to the twisting of the tornadoes that may come through.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We're into hurricane season now, June 1 through November 30. And they're predicting near normal Atlantic hurricane season, 12 to 17 named storms, 5 to 9 hurricanes, 1 to 4 major. That's a +3 category. Looking at the winds and the rains in Eden, and anytime something can happen, whether it's an airplane crashing or hurricanes, it's always good to be prepared, isn't it?
It is, and when we look at these hurricanes, we always think of that being a coastal event. But as we've talked before, these storms that track inward, especially those that would make landfall around mid-South Carolina to Georgia, those have historically been those that track through western sections of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. It tracks western section of North Carolina, puts us in Rockingham County on the east side of that storm, which is the worst place that you can be in a hurricane situation, is the east side of the storm. So even though we're way inland from the coast, we're certainly not free from the harm that could be caused from these hurricane events.
And we've seen that many times over the years.
We have. Even the tropical storm, several years ago when the tropical storm Michael came through, we didn't think it was going to be much to it, and nor did the weather professionals, and it ended up being very significant for our county. So it's certainly, as you said, we're always prepared for those, and we monitor those even when they're out to sea and there's some certainty as to what they're going to do. We're making preparations on our side should they make a landfall and should they impact our area. So certainly something that we watched this entire season.
Yeah. I may mention to you sometime back when I was a kid, we rode out to Hurricane Hazel on the coast, and we were living down there. So I have a little bit of remembrance of how that is. What is the best way? How should we be prepared for emergencies, whatever they may be?
Just staying informed, keeping up with those newscasts. We've talked many times about Code Red, having those Code Red notifications that notify us of severe weather and severe storms, things that impact our area. So having all the avenues of information that we have, having family plans, having those plans within our home of if we have to evacuate, where are we going, what do we have to take, what medications do we need, do we have cash on hand if there's power outages, ATMs are not going to work, places that accept debit cards and electronic transactions are not going to be able to do that. So do we have cash on hand? Do we have enough gas in our cars to get to a safe location? So that pre-planning and not waiting till the last minute when we say, this storm's getting ready to hit, we need to take action. Pre-planning and staying informed are the two best things that we can do.
Yeah, and you've mentioned numerous times readync.gov. What a great resource that is.
It is. That comes from the North Carolina Emergency Management. Great information statewide. If you're traveling, there's travel plans that you can look at there. So, again, an informational page that encompasses all of North Carolina.
I came across something this morning, doing a little homework before our podcast here, from the National Hurricane Center. It's really a great site, NHC for National Hurricane Center, nhc.noaa.gov. This is updated, looks like every couple of hours, with tropical storms and marine forecasts and all kinds of links. I found that I'm going to add that to my collection here of things, nhc.noaa.gov.
Yeah, again, there are multiple avenues out there to stay informed, different apps, different web pages that we can go to through the National Weather Service or through NOAA. Great resources that, again, help us stay informed of these events.
Yeah, okay. Well, some of the things we wanted to mention there. Anything else, Rodney?
No, when we look back to the events of Saturday night, and we mentioned this many times before, but the partnerships that we see when these situations occur, our 911 center, I can't say enough for the men and women that were manning the 911 center that night. They were inundated with calls. They sat there, and this was my first stop coming into the county was to the 911 center, and they had everything handled. They were comfortable with where they were. They were still inundated with calls, but they are processing these calls. They are getting the information to the responders, to the Incident Command Center, which at that point had moved to the Eden Fire Department. So they facilitate so many things. They're contacting Duke Energy and all of the utility providers. So not only are they answering calls for service and dispatching those calls for service, they're doing many things on the backside that are helping mitigate these events for the citizens. So, and along with them, we had Eden Fire Department, everybody with Eden Fire, Draper Fire, Leaksville Fire, and all the other companies that came in and provided support while these fire departments are answering these calls for service. There are other neighboring departments, some of which were the volunteer departments, Yanceyville Road, Oregon Hill, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are the two that pop right to mind. They then come in and actually man the Eden fire stations while Eden's running these other calls for service so that if something else happens, they have coverage within these areas. Our EMS staff were everywhere answering calls for service. And, not only just because these events are occurring in Eden, that doesn't stop the other events that are occurring throughout the county that our EMS crews have to respond to. The rescue squads were there ready to assist people. The public works people for the city of Eden. So that mitigation team was very far-reaching, and everybody did an outstanding job to help mitigate a very bad situation the other night.
I'm glad you recognize those people, and I knew you would because it is a team effort, and the focus and the work that they do there in the 911 center to put it all together. And I wish I could remember, and you may know it by heart, the quote that's out on your wall there outside of the center. just the frontline people that are there making it happen.
Says that we link the public to the public safety providers, and that's exactly what they do. They link the public, those people that are called, to the public safety providers, those that can help them mitigate their emergent or perceived emergent situations. So they did an outstanding job, as well as everybody that was associated with that event the other night.
Sure, yeah. So thanks to everyone for sure. Okay. Well, it's great to work in a county that has everything under control. Of course, emergencies happen, and it's good to be prepared and all of that. And I know there again, there's another whole program, just the preparedness of things when they happen unexpectedly too.
That's true, and hopefully we feel very confident that we're at a state of readiness from the emergency services standpoint. With all of our partner agencies throughout the county, we have a high level of confidence that we can mitigate the situations that come upon us, and I think we've proven that over time that we're able to do that, and certainly we'll continue to do that moving into the future.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. That's good to know. Rodney, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and hats off to your team and everyone else that you mentioned there that were involved in that particular incident over the weekend in Eden, and that are always there for us when we need them, 24/7. Thank you.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
Have a good week. We'll talk to you again next month.
All right.
Rodney Cates, Director of Rockingham County Emergency Services. Yes, he was certainly acknowledging some critical people involved in things when they happen, like the storm, the wind storms, and good to hear those numbers there too, because a lot of people were asking, some people asking me, while I was out and about, well, it looks like a tornado. Nope, straight line winds that hit Eden Saturday evening, estimated at 90 to 100 miles per hour. If you need more information about what's happening with emergency services, you can go to their Facebook page, Rockingham County Emergency Services. And let me mention that resource that we've mentioned more than once, readync.gov, readync.gov. And, of course, you can check the Rockingham County website for more information.